Hey everyone, welcome to the latest installment of Hangin With Hear2Zen. For this one, we're going to chat all things Uncaged. Uncaged kicks off this weekend. A great all-local lineup. You're going to see people like Wolfmother, Tex Perkins, UMI, the Superjesus, Body Jar, so many more. One of those bands will be Shihad. We get Phil on the line to chat with us about the latest album, Old Gods, as well as their involvement with the festival. Then after that, we get Danny from Silverback Touring on. We chat about the tours for this year. There might be a few surprises in there that you need to pay attention to, and what the future looks like for next year for Silverback. It was really great to connect with Danny and have him on. Hope you really enjoy the chats. Make sure you're getting out to Uncaged this weekend. It'll be a fun time. Make sure you follow Silverback and keep up to date with all their cool tours. And make sure you jump on our YouTube, click the bell, like and subscribe on our socials so you can keep up to date with all of our stuff. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Hi, Phil speaking.
Hey Phil, Andrew from Hear2Zen. How you going?
Good, thanks, good.
Great. You ready to get started?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Excellent.
Let's do it.
Thanks so much for your time. Is it strange that after cancellations, reschedule things for all bands around the world, that there's actually a festival taking place that you're going to get to step on a stage?
Yeah, it's awesome, yeah. No, I can't wait, yeah. I mean, I was super bummed out, a couple of months back when they got pushed. Was it then? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, really excited. Looks like it's going to happen. No, it's great. Yeah, and John and Carl, who live in New Zealand now, they're flying over next week to Melbourne to hook up with me and Tom, and we're going to go into the rehearsal space and get working, rehearsing and practicing the new songs that we're going to play. Yeah, can't wait.
Perfect. And yeah, Old Gods has been out for 6 months or more now, and your own tour sort of got canned. So is there a plan to sort of use this more a bit like release shows and play a bit from the album and then some hits?
Well, at the time, it's only it's a festival, so it's a compact set time, so it's 45 minutes. So we're gonna, we have to service the crowd, and we have to play our greatest hits as such. But yeah, we're gonna put in 3, maybe 4, Old God songs. So yeah.
Great. Now you've been living with the album since its release. How are you finding it as a consumer more than a creator now that it's out in the world? Are you happy with what you've put out?
Yeah, no, very happy, extremely happy. Yeah, over the moon. I mean, I've probably listened to it too much now. I'm just ready to. I think we do the album and then we mix it and get really excited about it, and then listen to it a million times and get a bit, probably get a bit, like that feeling that you used to have when you were a kid at a party and you ate too much chocolate and, sausages and stuff, and you make yourself feel sick. I've listened to it too much, but I'm just really looking forward to playing the songs live. I'm just really looking forward to rehearsing them with the others, really, I think we managed to play actually play a snow festival in Queenstown, New Zealand in July last year. And we played Tear Down Those Names and Little Demons live. And apart from that, I think that's the only time we've played anything off Old Gods.
Sure. And Uncaged is a very interesting festival in the way that it doesn't really have a specific market. Do you think those kind of festivals should be where promoters are looking in the future, like not just going, here's a metal festival, here's a rock festival, and trying to sort of blend the genres, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean that was the thing with back in the day, going back in the day, that was what was so great about Big Day Out. It was like such a diverse, sort of group of, genres of the bands and artists, which was really cool. But there's quite a few, with Uncaged, there's quite a few bands on there that were sort of, UMI and Body Jar, 28 Days, Superjesus, all those bands, they were on, on Triple J at the same time as we were,
Yeah.
And we used to do a lot of festivals with them back in the day, and do Big Day Out with those bands back in the day. Wolfmother were they're a bit more recent than all us other ones. But we've been on a Big Day Out tour with them as well. Pretty sure. So I mean, it has that sort of Triple J, sort of the Triple J of sort of 15 to 20 years ago. Oh no, probably more, 20 years plus ago, 20 to 25 years ago, sorry. It's got that sort of vibe about it,
Yeah, sure. And, while Triple J still exists today, to me it doesn't exist the way it did in the 90s. How important was Triple J for the Australian music scene? It still is now, but how important was it back then in the 90s?
Oh, it was huge. It was huge. It was huge. And we were so lucky to be included, as with those other bands that I, just mentioned, and other bands like Grinspoon, Magic Dirt, Living End, or, Powderfinger, Regurgitator. It was such a great, lineup of peers of ours at the time that, we couldn't have gone out and toured, out of the cities of Australia and into the regional areas without the support of Triple J. And it was so important, so responsible for that whole sort of music scene that sort of had a nexus with the Big Day Out as well. It was all sort of hooked up, and it was so good to have a government funded nationwide youth radio network like that. We have, I guess we have a sort of a similar model of in New Zealand. You have like the BNet stations, but they're more to do with funded by the universities and stuff. But we never really had a sort of an ABC funded youth radio network like you do here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure the last time I saw you may have been opening for Black Sabbath, if my memory serves me correct. So, when you're on big tours like that, what other things come to mind from other big bands you played with? Any cool memories from those sort of opening slots?
Yeah, well, the opening for Black Sabbath, that was, that was one of the more recent big supports that we've done. If you look back, in the grander scale of things, so that was awesome. And we got to watch Black Sabbath soundcheck and play 8 times in New Zealand and Australia. Another one memory, one sort of bucket list life moment that I always go back to. We've been lucky enough to support AC/DC 8 times, so that was every tour they've done in New Zealand since 1991, and every time was a bucket list moment. And but the very first time when we rocked up to the stadium where they were getting ready for the show in the afternoon, and AC/DC were about to come out for their sound check, so we'd never seen them play before in our lives, and the 4 of us were just sitting on the grass of this great big sort of rugby stadium in Wellington, and we saw AC/DC come out, where they're drinking their coffees and stuff and putting their guitars on, and they ripped straight into Back in Black and then Thunderstruck, and we were just, our minds were just blown, because we'd never seen such, for heavy rock anyway, such a giant, loud production and such a tight band, even though we don't really have any songs that are exactly like AC/DC. Ever since then, we've always tried, that's been our benchmark as far as live performance, from sort of a spectacle and a tight, musicianship tightness, perspective. It's been that moment in 1991 when we were sitting watching AC/DC soundcheck. It really blew our minds.
Sure. Now, moving forward to like Uncaged, what sort of bands that you might not have seen or you haven't seen in a long time are you hoping to check out?
I saw Superjesus at a festival with similar lineup to this. Superjesus, 28 Days, Body Jar. About a couple of years ago, we did a few Hotter Than Hells with Body Jar. Seen Magic a couple of years back, so we've caught up with a few of them. I haven't caught up with UMI for years and have not seen them play since like home bake days back in Sydney. It'd be great to see them. I haven't got the lineup in front of me. Body Jar are good mates. We share the same management as Body Jar now, and I would like to do some more touring with them in the future if it permits. They're always good to see live. But yeah, UMI, we haven't caught up with them or seen them play for a long time, so that'll be cool.
Perfect. And while Old Gods is your newest album and still in the terms of like an album cycle is very young, are the band looking towards the future in the way of some new music at all?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were just speaking about that the other day on our weekly band Zoom meeting call. We're just trying to we're going to try and carve out some time in everyone's busy lives this year to get stuck back into writing. We certainly don't want a 7-year break in between, the next album this time round. We'd like to get something out, next year, hopefully.
Sure. Now, as we finish up today, I'll leave you with a little bit of a weird question. I want you to think about your bandmates and describe them to the audience, but only one word for each of them.
Okay. First thing, John Toogood. First thing that comes to mind is loud. Not just his guitar, not just his singing, but just his talking as well. Tom, first word comes to mind is rock. Like a rock, but not just like rock as in music, but rock as in the bass with an E on the end. Carl, life. He's just full of life. I don't know. I'm just doing off the top of the dome word association.
All right, mate. I will let you get back to your day. Everyone needs to get out to Uncaged next weekend.
Yes, please come along. Blow your brains out.
Exactly.
In a nice way, not in a horrible thing way. In an audio way.
Excellent. Thanks for your time, mate. Look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. See ya.
Definitely.
All right, so let's get into it. So first off, congrats on the latest tour announcement, Mr. Karabi coming back in June. Now,
thanks, man.
A lot of people will have never seen him in this format before, which is probably where he does a lot of his business at the moment, is the acoustic storyteller stuff.
Yeah.
How long ago did you start working on that one with him?
Last year. I had him down as a repeat tour. Actually 2020, I probably made the. I'd even go back to 2019. That I probably wrote him down in the notebook saying, okay, these are the tours that we'll do as repeat tours, with a twist. Every tour that we sort of did in our first 2 years, you'd want to revisit, based on new album cycles or whatever else. I knew John had an autobiography coming out, that he's done with Paul Miles, and yeah, I'd sort of earmark that as, you know, a potential thing. I mean, the one thing I recall him saying to me after the last tour is that he'll never do that album again because it's just so taxing on his voice. Yeah, so I was pretty stoked. I was pretty stoked we were able to get it, to be honest with you. It was a very special thing. Yeah, so yeah, it's been on the cards for a little while, but I guess the reality, Andrew, is we haven't been able to commit anything, you know, with any certainty until now.
Yeah.
And the snapback is sort of in effect right now, and it's sort of happening very fast.
Yeah, and it's literally a week before his book comes out, so it couldn't be timed in any better.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can actually get some advanced copies. I mean, I'm sure production-wise they'd be ready. It's just if we can get them in stock, that'd be great, because we'll obviously be able to do a couple of extra, you know, maybe a couple of in-store appearances and things like that. I know some punters will be pretty keen on that. I mean, even just to sell the book at the shows would be great for him.
And people
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, people that haven't seen Karavi before in this format are probably in for a bit of a surprise, because he's got some great stories, and while they'll probably tie into the book, you're probably going to hear him in a different light when he's telling them in person. 100%. They're going to be a little less filtered.
100%. And look, I've you know, I got to spend a bit of time with him on our first tour together, and I heard some pretty cool stories. I mean, being a Motley Crue fan in particular, I heard some pretty cool stories and insightful stories. And it's like, wow, really? Like, you know, and the thing is, like, not to take any shine away from Paul Miles, who's an amazing writer, and you know, as everyone knows, is a Motley Crue historian.
Yep.
I think it was on that actual tour that this all came about. Yeah. You know, where the discussion of the book came about, and yeah, I remember a couple of times we were at lunch or breakfast or whatever, and you know, we're hearing stories about Motley Crue in Japan and stuff about the Dead Daisies, and you know, but even as a singer, he's just one of those traditional classic singers. Like, it's a voice that you recognize anywhere, you know.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to read bits of the original manuscript before Paul got involved, so we're talking 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I look forward to seeing what happens with it from now, because, you know, like you said, I remember some of his stories on the first ESP tour, and yeah, no, that's like 1998 now, and he doesn't shy away. He doesn't shy away. Let's just say that. So I really hope the lawyers didn't get too involved.
Look, and he's a real character as well. You know, as you know, he's a real funny guy. I mean, I received a couple of funny text messages from him this week, and you know, part of me sort of, you know, I mean, like I do with a lot of bands that I sort of grew up liking, and you know, performers I grew up sort of, you know, being a fan of. You know, kind of, they're pinch yourself moments, you know. But he's got a pretty wicked sense of humor, Mr. Karavi. So
yeah, he does.
You know, I'm looking forward to it.
Everyone should make sure they grab their tickets. But I'm going to actually take you back. So I think I might have actually shot the very first Silverback show, which was Head PE in Brisbane. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, it was. Yeah. It was that was our very first tour back in March 2018. So
yeah, I remember. I think Silverback page putting out like an anniversary post up, and I was like, I know that photo.
Yeah. That was crazy. It's crazy to think it's only been 4 years. I mean, and two of those we've been basically, for want of a better description, inactive. Yeah. So yeah, we did. I did an interview yesterday actually, and you know, when someone asked me about Silverback, and I said, well, we sort of just came out of nowhere and you know, pedal to the metal. We just came out swinging basically, and we came out with international acts, whereas a lot of people would you know, more so start on a domestic level and sort of gear up. We went the other way around. We only touched domestic talent, you know, this past year. So yeah, it's been a cool ride so far.
And even before Silverback, you've been doing stuff in the industry for quite some time, even writing.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and you know, we grew up not very far away from each other in Sydney, funnily enough.
All right. Yeah.
So we're Westies at heart. So
yeah. Well, look, I moved to the west in defense of my heritage, I moved to the deep southwest 5-6 years ago for a bit of a sea change. You know, for a bit more greenery, and you know, I see cows when I drive home now, which I absolutely adore. I love it. Just it calms my erratic soul, you know. But I grew up in St. George, which was basically, you know, 15-20 minutes from the city back then, but by the airport, so all the conveniences were there. But I love where I live now. I think it's great. But yeah, I did sort of come up as a writer as well. You know, writing's always been a passion. You know, something that I find calms me and soothes me, which is kind of strange, you know.
So what did you think that the industry was missing when you decided to push Silverback out there? Like, what did you think? Not that you haven't brought it, because you brought it in a big way, but what was missing for you to go, I think I can do this in a different way?
Look, I think that's a good question. And I think that only really came about after the fact that I realized the opening, because I was kind of pushed into Silverback. It's an interesting story behind it, or it's not so much interesting, but a kind of cool little story behind it. So as you mentioned, I've been in the game for a little while. My other business, Delta Bravo, does R&B and hip hop events, and I've been doing that for quite a while. And obviously, I've always been a rock fan at heart. That's my go-to, you know, preference when it comes to music. And there was a promoter in Auckland. His name's Kane Hawkins, and he was a hip hop promoter as well, but he was also a really big rock fan. Right. And this guy, I mean, we have the similarities are insane. I mean, we both have pugs. We're both working in, you know, the hip hop genre. We're both big rock heads, especially 80s rock and stuff like that. And Kane came up with I think his first rock show per se, I think he did Pennywise on one of their last tours, and it was a sort of a 2-week notice type Auckland show, and he did really well out of it. I mean, Pennywise always sell really well. They're a legendary band. But his very next step from that, I think they worked on a festival. I think it was called Storm the Gates. I can't remember. I think that may have been the name. And I know that Limp Bizkit were headlining that, and it might have been on the back of some download shows in Australia. And what happened was he had this band Head PE on the bill, and I always knew. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say I was always an 80s elitist. Yep. And it wasn't till sort of late in the piece that I kind of, you know, started, you know, drop the elitism and thought, you know what, there is some really good music out there post 87, you know. And so Head PE was a band that I'd always known of, but I'd never really got into. And Kane basically called me and said, well, what do you think about doing a tour of Australia? I've got them in New Zealand. And it was almost like my first opportunity to even consider doing a rock show. Yep. And I'd always kind of avoided it because I didn't want to make any rash decisions being a fan of rock music. Yep. You know, so next thing I know, I've put this Head PE thing together. And the beautiful thing about Head PE is it was almost like the perfect segue from the other world that I was in into this world, because they're a genre bending act, and there's elements of hip hop, reggae, R&B in what they do, and then you got the metal and the funk and the rock, and it's all mixed, put in a blender, and just comes out with these beautiful sounds, you know. And I thought, what a, you know. So in hindsight, it was just the perfect segue to come into the rock world. But then from there, I don't generally do anything by half measures. That's when I sort of started thinking, well, hold on a sec. There isn't really a rock promoter focusing on the hard rock sort of genre. And the hard rock genre, you know, putting my 80s elitist hat back on, you know, relates back to, you know, some of those 80s bands that don't come out. The people, I mean, I've always wanted to see them. People like yourself have wanted to see them. But there's also a whole modern day approach to that with a lot of, I mean, I guess they call it active rock these days. You know, that's the genre, active rock. You know, your Pop Evils, your Fozzies, and bands like that. So yeah, I thought there was a cool little opening for us there. But we're not trying to limit what we do to, you know, solely, you know, I mean, we've done some metalcore stuff, we've done some stoner Sabbath type rock. You know, I'm pretty much open to anything. If it sounds cool and we can sell tickets, and why not?
Yeah, you're a promoter.
But that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
At the end of the day, you're a promoter. You promote to the market that wants to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so,
there's always hits and misses, you know.
Oh, look. Well, I'm just running down what's coming up. Like in the next couple of weeks, you've got like 80s on Sunset, Uncaged, Devil Skin. Like that's bang, bang, bang. Like that's a
Hey, look, 80s on Sunset has just been postponed. Unfortunately, or some unfortunate circumstances. You know, with COVID and coming out of the pandemic, there's still going to be a little bit of a hangover of some things that, you know, will cause internationals to fall over. But that's being delayed by a few weeks. But I can give you a scoop, Andrew, where we're repackaging that show with something special that 80s fans are going to love. So yeah, you can run with that.
Excellent.
So
I'll make sure I put it up tonight.
They'll come out very soon.
Yeah, cool. The only 80s band I can think of that people really would want to see, and I know it's going to be a stretch to get them here, is actually Poison. But in saying that, you've got the next best thing, because we have a really great Poison tribute band in Australia that are straight up, you know.
Yeah, they're not bad at all. I mean, look, I think the reality though is, I think, you know, Poison, they're such a niche band though.
Yep.
You know, they're a real niche band. They've only toured Australia once, you know, 32 years ago now. And I feel that unless, you know, from a not for one of not trying, but from a fee perspective, you know, they're doing arenas still in the US.
Yep.
You know, they're doing the arenas and the big fairs and whatnot. So they're getting top coin. And, you know, bands of that sort of, you know, classic variety now, they have no real reason to come to a little country like Australia for less money than what they could earn, you know, 3-4 hours away at home.
Yeah, and I'll put it to people this way. Like I always see the bring this band to Australia page on Facebook and bring this band to Australia page. Like these bands can go out just for a summer run in America and not have to work for the rest of the year. They could literally stay at home and not have to work. Whereas if they come here, it's the promoter's likely to go bankrupt trying to bring them down on the fee they expect. And we don't have the same draw for them here. So, that's why, you know, when we get the new announcement of the 80s on Sunset, like I hope we still see Poisonous on there, because I think they're as good as Australia's going to get to Poison. And Matty, the front man, is pretty dead on.
Look, he does really well. Full credit to him. He does well, and he, you know, tribute bands are, you know, what I've discovered. I mean, during COVID, we obviously pivoted a little, and you know, we opened an agency and also started focusing on some, you know, conceptualized tribute shows.
Yep.
And the thing about that particular show is, I mean, he's I'd class him more as an impersonator than, you know, just a tribute band. And there are so many levels to tribute bands, you know, but I think, Matty in particular, he's probably on that impersonator level where, he could probably go to Vegas and be in one of those corny Vegas shows, you know, and I say that with all respect.
Yep.
But the ones that you have to go see, you know, where there's a Sinatra, there's an Elvis, there's a Bret Michaels, there's a, you know, an Elton John and whatever else. But he puts a lot of work into his show and the appearance, and, you know, it's, I mean, if that's your thing, you know, people love it. I know a lot of the girls love it, so more power to him.
And then we swivel this weekend, something that I'm super excited about, Uncaged. Now, Uncaged, it takes me straight back to the Soundwave days. You know, the running between the stages. I looked at the timetable today. I was like, oh, that's going to be some steps on the old Garmin watch there. But that was part of the fun.
Yeah, look, it's got, you know, I'm flattered when people, you know, infers memories of things like Soundwave or Big Day Out or Home Bake. Home Bake in particular, because that was such an amazing and iconic festival. I mean, as was Big Day Out, as was Soundwave, but Home Bake in particular because it was purely a domestic lineup.
Yeah.
So I'm completely flattered when, you know, references are made to those, in that the aesthetic reminds people of that. I mean, look, to be honest, Andrew, I'm a tadpole in the promoter game.
Yeah.
You know, we're a really young company. You know, we you know, some days I think our balls are a bit too big for, you know, for the business. But you know, look, you got to be in it to really take risks and really put things out there that you want to see. So yeah, look, Uncaged, it's a new old concept, I guess. And you know, like with everything, you know, we saw an opening in the market. You know, coming out of COVID times, you know, it's probably a lot more risk involved with delivering this type of show. But no, I'm really proud of what we've come up with, and you know, however it goes and however it's received, you know, my goal right now is to deliver the show and let the punters have a really good time. And like all great festivals, you know, you start somewhere and you build.
The one thing for me as a punter for this, you know, looking at it from the outside with a little bit of inside knowledge is the one thing you and your team should be incredibly proud of is the amount of quick swivels you've had to do successfully around, you know, okay, this band can't make this. Okay, let's get this band there. Like, I'm sure people from behind their keyboard always have puffier chests, but if they lived a day in your shoes and actually realised what those swivels take to do, I probably think they'd shut up really quick. So, look, from my aspect, thank you.
No, I really appreciate that, man. And it's yeah, I mean, like all my peers, you know, I mean, I look up to, you know, all, you know, I mean, obviously all the big promoters, but then, you know, you promoters like, you know, the guys at Destroyer Lines and Metropolis and Empire, who do, you know, the Spring Loaded shows and things like that. Like I admire what they do, and I'm like a sponge. You know, if I ever get the opportunity to talk to any of those guys, I'm like a sponge because I'm still learning.
Yeah.
You know, I live by a philosophy that the dumbest person in the room knows everything. And I usually say it a little less eloquently than that. But, you know, for the record, I'll keep my mouth clean. But it's a real there are so many twists and turns in delivering something like this. And I won't lie, even as we speak now, I mean, where I am right now, it's 11:30 in the morning, a few hours behind you, but even now, a few days out, we're still dealing with curveballs. And yeah, you're right. The punters, and look, and I get it from a punter perspective. You know, the punters they want to see what they want to see. They've got their opinions. Rock fans in general are the most passionate of music fans anywhere. They're the most defensive. They're the most aggressive. They're also the most kind-hearted and gentle. You know, despite, especially on the heavier fronts. You know. But they, you know, and I get it. You know, you're not gonna please everybody. You are gonna have a lot of pushback. Everyone's got an opinion. Oh, this band should be headlining. Why is this band headlining? Why are these bands playing under this band? And it's like, what do you do? What do you say? You can't push back on it. People are entitled to their opinions, but it is what it is. And you know, as long as for us, as long as the bands are happy and the punters get what they pay for, and you know, we deliver the show, and everyone has a pleasant experience, we've done our job.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that some of your postponements or movements can be sometimes attributed to a band's movements elsewhere that have changed, that you've had, you know, it might not be, oh, we can't do this date. Things might have changed. Like on a personal level, I bet it was really hard not to announce any tours anytime Kiss was apparently coming, knowing how much you wanted to see the show.
Yeah. It is. There are so many moving parts.
Yeah.
I mean, even yesterday, I read a couple of comments where someone was complaining about the number of bands that have dropped off. I mean, one of the first things we put out there was, you know, look, lineups are subject to change because there are so many circumstances. You know, I know recently there was a festival where the whole festival got delayed because of a number of people contracting COVID.
Yep.
So, you know, that affected a number of bands. The whole thing had to get delayed. I mean, it's just, what do you do? You know, balance. I think we've done pretty well to maintain, you know, I'd say 85%, or 80 to 85% of our bill with every change.
And the thing I always say to people with festivals is the price that you pay for a festival ticket, you can generally pay to only see one band sometimes. So
absolutely.
Do the math and take it all in.
I actually did the math yesterday just out of interest, and I think it came down to $7.90 per band.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It'll cost more to go to Macca's.
Yeah, well, it definitely would. It definitely would, especially in this day and age. Yeah.
People listening and watching actually take that into perspective, because like $7.90 per band, you know, and that should mean that people really, you might miss a couple of songs from a band, but try your best to swivel between the stages, because you might discover something new. So like, you've even got the curveball now of Stockdale will be probably sitting on stage for the show.
Poor bloke. I saw I think he busted his knee or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, like a trooper, you know, true rock and roll.
Yep.
He's carrying forward, you know. We all have to adapt, you know. I mean, you know, touch wood and, you know, pray to the universe or whoever else you pray to, and hope that no one comes down with COVID or anything like that, and everyone's healthy and can attend the shows and give fans a really good experience.
Yeah, like moving on to the end of the year, you've got like Fozzy,
Fozzy and Buckcherry
just achieved something pretty unheard of in the music industry and got a gold album or a gold award for one of their songs.
Yeah.
So like that, you talk about that active rock scenario. So like, people don't really go tinfoil these days, let alone gold and platinum. So that's pretty huge.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, because you take a band like who we toured in 2019, Pop Evil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've had 5 number ones in America. They're a massive band over there. They play arenas. They play they play large scale shows.
Yep.
You know, but they're relatively unknown outside of America. I mean, in parts of Europe, and they're well known, but in other parts of the world, they're relatively unknown. But things catch on eventually. But Fozzy are one of those. They're kind of a band that's sort of just, they've been relatively consistent and just kind of flown under the radar. A lot. You know, and they have some pretty genuine hardcore fans. I mean, obviously you've got the Jericho fans, put them to the side, but you've got some genuine Fozzy fans who are just really into it. And I think doubling them with Buckcherry is just going to be just a great rock show. It's a really good rock show.
That latest Buckcherry album was amazing.
Yeah, look, that Buckcherry are a band that, you know, if anyone ever asked me how I would describe Buckcherry, I'd always say they're just consistent. You know, they're not out there changing the wheel.
No,
they're doing what they know, and they do what they know really, really well. They're just a straight up good rock band, and their live shows are just epic. They're just a great, you know. And the thing I love about the Buckcherry shows is, you know, Buckcherry, Stevie and Josh in particular are big fans of, you know, other genres like R&B and hip hop and funk and whatnot, and the fact that they introduce some of that into their shows sometimes, you know, with some of their breakdowns, and you know, they'll do segues into, you know, the Stones and, you know, James Brown or whatever else. You know, they're just a brilliant, they're just a good rock and roll band, you know, and their fans know that. Yeah,
to me, they're kind of like a US AC/DC. If they broke, don't fix it. They just do what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, for us 80s tragics, I'm really happy with Fozzie's new bass player, PJ from Trickster.
Oh, PJ from Trickster, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't sort of catch on to that at first. You know, now I mean, he's obviously joined the Superior Bald Club. You know,
Yep.
so
yeah, so
he's one of us now. Doesn't have that luscious hair that he had back in 88, 89.
No, when he was like 12.
Yeah. He still looks really young. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, and he's got another great band, Ra.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah, check them out as well. And I think he does the Quarantine project with Jericho.
Right.
And
yeah.
they do the tragic
the
80s Kiss covers. Yeah.
Mate, 80s Kiss is the best Kiss. I don't care what anyone says.
No, it's good.
80s Kiss is the ultimate Kiss. I mean, you know, the makeup stuff's cool, but nothing beats 80s Kiss.
Nothing beats 80s Kiss. That's our Kiss.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
absolutely.
You've also got John 5, after many hurdles.
Finally.
But that'll be good because if people think that John 5 is just a guitar player, they really need to go see one of his shows. Because he basically does the job of the guitar player and the vocalist on the guitar.
Yeah, John 5 is just he's an alien. He's just out of this world. I mean, that's an interesting tour because that actually got postponed before we even announced it.
Right.
Originally, because I'll give you a bit of a backstory. I remember I was sitting in an airport lounge. I was traveling to Asia, and I got a message from the agent saying, we need to delay the announce. We need to change these dates. And this was, so we'd set everything up to be announced, and it was going to be announced whilst I was in air, basically.
Right.
And what had happened was the Marty Friedman tour had got announced.
Yep.
And they were conflicting dates.
Yes, I remember.
And John didn't want to go on the conflicting dates with Marty Friedman.
Yep.
They're mates and all that kind of thing. So yes, you would have probably had the presser.
I did
in hand. Yeah. So that was literally an 11th hour postponement.
Yep.
And I feel like, and so I remember getting to Asia and basically rerouting it, and then it just COVID came and it just all went to shit.
Yep.
And here we are, you know, later this year, we're finally going to be able to see him here.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a visual and musical sort of extravaganza. He doesn't do it by halves. No,
and I mean, if anyone follows him on his socials, I mean, his videos just a small, give you a small insight into the type of player that he is.
Yeah.
You know, we obviously all see him with Rob Zombie and seen him with Manson and whatnot, but you know, from a solo perspective, what he does is just out of this world.
Yeah, and then finishing up the year, the one that I am ridiculously happy about is Skid Row coming back, and especially
that's exciting
with the newest edition, which, you know, let's just say it's going to be a fun time.
It was that was a curveball, wasn't it? It was I mean, we've been talking about this tour for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we've been planning this for a little while, and I had no idea. I mean, like everyone, no one really knew what was happening. But I'll give you a bit of an insight. The irony, or you know, I guess the lack of attention on my part. So I obviously had the artwork in hand that they wanted to use, and it wasn't until after they announced Eric joining the band that I looked at the artwork and thought, fucking hell, that's Eric.
Yeah.
I actually didn't pick up that wasn't a member of Skid Row on the actual poster.
Yep.
And that's a rear picture of him with his fist up in the air, because you know I noticed the forearm tattoo that he has, and I just thought, I've been sitting on this the whole time and just did not catch on. But I think the way they did it and the way it's been handled, and with the release of the single, I mean, I have not stopped listening to that song. It's amazing.
So good.
Yeah, it's just, it captures everything that Skid Row is and was.
I keep saying to people, it's like the first album and the second album had a baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they didn't. It doesn't really matter to the consumer what happened with CP. Things have changed. They've moved on, and
Yeah.
They instead of just going, oh, we've changed singers and we're going to go out and do a run of shows, they were like, we've changed singers. Here's the song, and we're about to go on stage with the Scorpions in 2 days.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It was very well executed.
yeah,
And it caught everyone by surprise. And look, and the way I look at it, you're always going to have the Sebastian Bach fans who are going to complain and whine, which is fine. I mean, everyone's entitled to their view. But those who are fans of Skid Row will go to these shows, and the uptick that we've seen on sales. I mean, I think the Melbourne show is probably about 65% sold at the moment.
Yep.
And we haven't really done too much to market it just yet.
Yeah.
So people are certainly excited, and particularly with Reckless Love on the bill, and then Wicked Smile from Australia as well. I just think it's a really solid night out. It's a really good bill. Yeah. I'm pretty proud of that lineup.
And I'm no offense to Eaton Till, I love the place, but I'm so happy it's at the Triffid.
Yeah.
That's a Skid Row venue.
Yeah, it's they're playing sort of 800 to 1,000 cap rooms on average.
Yep.
And that's, you see some commentary online. Oh, they're playing. I mean, in the States, they talk about they're playing bowling alleys and things like that, which is just, keyboard warriors puffing their chests.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is that, look, the band knows, where they're at.
Yeah.
And they're consistent, and, most of all, they're happy.
Yep.
They're all genuinely happy, and they're happy to be coming back to Australia, and we're stoked to be, hosting them.
I remember last tour, like pulling up outside the hotel, you were going your way to go go-karting. I was going my way to take others to the Koala Park. And that's the minute they got in the car, the first vibe I got was how grateful they all still are.
Yeah. That was fun, that go-karting. There was a, let's just say that I ended up injured during those races, and I was the butt of many jokes for that remaining week, and even to the point where ZP was actually changing lyrics in some songs with the inside joke, which was, look, I was honoured, put it that way. I was honoured, but yeah, it was very uncomfortable for a few days.
Yeah, well, considering Rachel actually races cars and has in the past, you're up against it. Like,
oh yeah. Oh, he's a freak.
Yeah.
He's extremely competitive, and I mean, we all let him win, obviously, but
of course,
he took that podium finish.
Yep. So
they took a podium finish. I ended up in the doctor's surgery.
Yeah, good stuff.
It was great.
So looking forward to 2023, do you have any goals for the amount of tours that you want to announce?
I think we're going to probably be a little more strategic in 2023. Yep. There's plenty of tours that we're in discussion on at the moment, but I'd like to ideally see us broadening our horizons a little.
Yep.
So I know there's a couple of heavy tours that we're in discussion on at the moment.
Yep.
Which is probably a little outside of the realm of Silverback.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, look, it's all rock music at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
it's all big guitars and loud drums, and the vocals may change a little. Some may be a bit more melodic than others. Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple of heavy tours that we're looking at. I mean, we'll be very active. We'll be extremely active, and there'll be a few projects that may surprise a few people. There's some larger scale projects we're working on, and we're obviously hoping that we can also produce Uncaged 2023 as well.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. And that's the thing. Like, when it comes to Silverback, and Hear2Zen, we're not very different in the way that we just want people to experience good stuff. So that's why Hear2Zen's genre free. Like, we don't care. Like, just go have fun. You might discover something new. So, like, guys, like, I always say this to everyone, no matter what tour you're going to see the opening band. Don't spend your money to walk in for the headliner. So say for Skid Row, like, I know the Wicked Smile guys. I've known Steve since he was in Cyclone Tracy back in the
way back in the day.
Yeah, but if you go see those guys, you walking out and buying their CD from the merch directly goes back to them, and that's their lunch for the next day, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's absolutely. The thing, like, when you guys put a tour on, you are quite strategic in that you pair some really great openers that you think people are going to dig into, and and bring their friends.
Well, well, I think it's important. It's important to package shows. Because I mean, you want to give value for money on the one hand, but I sort of live by this philosophy where, if I'm touring a band like, let's say, Faster Pussycat, for example, one of the 80s bands that we've toured, I don't want to put on an opener who's basically a clone of that genre. I want someone who's a little different, a little left of center, but there's still enough of a common thread. Because I mean, even from a business standpoint, you're picking from the same pool of people. Yeah. At the end of the day.
Yep.
So for me, it's cool doing some smaller bands. Like, I mean, one of my favorite tours was Danko Jones.
Yep.
That was a show that I'd always wanted to do, and they're just a ridiculously good band. But again, I mean, one of the ones that we paired, that Hardcore Superstar and Buck Cherry on their 2019 tour, enough similarities, but enough points of difference as well. And obviously, the Hardcore Superstar fans may have not seen Buck Cherry, and the Buck Cherry fans may not have seen Hardcore Superstar before. And I know factually that a lot of people saw Hardcore Superstar for the first time on that show and just went, wow. So obviously that will benefit them on their next run. So I think pairing and your programming is really, really important. You need to sort of keep a fresh approach.
I'll put it to you this way: a buddy of mine saw the Skid Row show get announced. He's one of our contributors, and he saw Wicked Smile. So the first thing he did is he went to YouTube, cranked up the clips, and we're at a show the other night. He comes up to me and goes, "I can't wait to Skid Row, but oh my god, I can't wait to see Wicked Smile live." Yeah. And
we have some amazing bands in Australia. Some amazing bands. Wicked Smile are one of them. I mean, they just sit in that traditional heavy metal hard rock, pocket. They're not out to change the world. They're not out to, they are what they are, and they're fans of that genre. Yeah. And they're all astute players, and Danny, the vocalist, has ridiculous pipes.
Yeah.
And very long hair.
I was going to say, I'm amazed I haven't gotten caught in strings yet.
Yeah, but he and that's one of the reasons why we signed them to our agency as well, because they're a band that can certainly go places, and I know that our sort of database and our network and people who follow us will really dig into them. They'll really like them.
All right, so we're going to finish up for the day. I want to get this one online tonight for everyone to check out. So, Uncaged, who is it that you really think are just going to, like, every band's going to be awesome, but who do you think the surprise packet of Uncaged is?
Oh wow, that's a real tough one. I'm going to say the Hard Ons.
Yep.
And I'll tell you why, because I saw, like, I mean, I saw the Hard Ons back in the day, but I saw them recently when they did their pop-up secret show at Frankie's in Sydney.
Oh yeah.
And what Tim Rogers brings to the band.
Yep.
It's just it's a different band. It's still the Hard Ons, but Tim Rogers is the ultimate rock star.
He is.
He is our country's sole rock star. I'll even go one further. I'd say Tex as well.
Yep.
Tex to me is a bit of a. I think a few people were surprised that we added Tex to the bill with his Fat Rubber Band project.
Yeah.
But look, this is a rock show, so you can see alternate indie type bands like Magic Third and UMI.
Yep.
You can see the classic rock sounds of Wolfmother.
Yep.
12 Foot Ninja. I mean, those guys are just mind blowing. Yep. Their show is going to be epic. Look, it's hard, but for me, based on what I saw with the Hard Ons, I think they just got this amazing energy and a real excitement to their show. And Tim just brings a real swagger and almost like a sex appeal to them, which is kind of probably the Hard Ons and sex appeal probably never been spoken in the same vein. But he just brings this cool real cool element to them, and their album is really, really good. It's just
Yeah.
catchy, you know.
Tim Rogers, like an indie rock David Bowie.
Yeah, he's just I'm really excited. Like I'm super pumped that you and I are on the bill. Like
Yep.
we've got the best of the best on this bill. But I mean every band I think will deliver something different. And I mean Body Jar is one I'm really excited to see as well.
Yep.
You know,
but
again, I mean 6 or 7 of our bands are all on album cycles at the moment. They've all got new music out.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
Shihad's the one that I'm actually looking forward to. I saw them open for Black Sabbath on that last tour, and they just owned everything.
Yeah, I feel like Shihad fly under the radar a lot,
big time.
You know, but the new album Old Gods is just epic.
Yeah, they're the one.
So I'm pretty excited about them.
They're the one Kiwi band we actually haven't totally stolen yet.
Oh, well, I think, you know, we've been getting some backlash because we've been calling them Australian on some of our marketing, you know, but I mean, they've been based for a good portion of time, they've been based in Melbourne. I think John Toogood lives in Melbourne now. So yeah. So no, look, it'll be a fun show. It'll be a fun show nonetheless.
All right, mate, I'll let you get back to it. Everyone needs to follow Silverback on their socials, because that's where you get all the info. Sign up to the mailing list too, because then you get your exclusives there. I'll probably see you on the weekend, hopefully.
Hopefully, mate. If I can get back in time, I'll be there.
All right, mate. I'll see you then. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate the chat. See you, mate. Bye-bye.